we're going to talk about NXT. What I believe to be WWE's A show. The best brand out of Raw, SmackDown, any show they have. And then we're also going to talk about why I believe none, zero, nada, any of the NXT talent right now shouldn't even think about moving down, not up, but down to the main roster. So before I get into that, let's address two arguments I know I'm going to have to face. Two reasons why people say these guys should move up to the main roster. Reason number one, the money. Reason number two, WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to address WrestleMania later on in this video. But let's tackle that money argument. Let's tackle the whole idea that they get paid more on the main roster. Because you look at the stats at full value. Look at their payment at full value. I don't know how much they get paid. I'm going to assume that NXT gets paid 5 digits, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 a year, which sounds fair. And then main roster would pay them maybe even 6 digits, 100,000, 200,000. And then, of course, if you're Brock Lesnar, $1 million, over $1 million. John Cena, over $1 million. I wouldn't be shocked if Roman Reigns is making over $1 million. He's probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, clearly they get paid more on the main roster than NXT. Here's my thing with that. There's no guarantee to how much money you'll make on the main roster. Because it's clear that people like Heath Slater, Bo Dallas, R-Truth, and Curtis Axel, and all those guys, they don't make nearly as much money as a Roman Reigns, or a Rusev, or a Sheamus, or a Daniel Bryan, or those top guys. There's no guarantee to how much money you will make. And then you got the fact that you might not be booked very strong. That's very apparent. You might be on the pre-shows. You won't get a lot of TV time. You won't be the same character you were on NXT. You know, the guy that you actually worked on, or the girl that you actually worked on, the character that you worked on for months and years maybe, to become popular in front of an NXT audience, but it's practically the same audience that watches WWE. Why? Because it's on the WWE network. You know? People that watch the main roster, who have the WWE network, I'm going to assume also watches NXT. At least I would think they would. We got NXT Chance, and I think the WWE wants them to watch NXT. So why would you not use the characters that you built on NXT on the main roster? Why would you bring them up to the main roster to change how they're booked, to change how they're presented? Look at Tyler Breeze. I don't get what they've done with Tyler Breeze. I don't get why they haven't used him as strongly or presented him in a way similar to how he was used on NXT, because on NXT he was fantastic. It wasn't the fact that he was losing matches or, not getting title shots, or, it wasn't even about how the character was being successful in that, brand. It was about the character itself. Tyler Breeze on the main roster is nowhere close to how entertaining he was on NXT. Same thing goes for Adam Rose or Leo Kruger and others, which I'll get to in a second. So, yeah, you might make more money, but there's no guarantees of how much money you'll make. You won't get the same character you have. You won't be booked in strong matches. You'll probably be booked on pre-shows. And what if you get hurt? That means you're going to be out for months, and what's going to cover you then? I would think it would be better to just make above average wage, which is $50,000, $60,000, working events in front of crowds, and I didn't even talk about the crowds. Main roster crowds compared to NXT crowds, totally different sides of the spectrum. Nowhere close. It's totally different. Some WWE crowds are chanting NXT during WWE shows. The performance aspect, the presentation of your character, the crowds, everything is a lot better. I sometimes think, is the money really worth it? The amount of money that you'll make on the main roster, is it really worth everything that you are going to potentially lose just to get the 6 digits. Maybe to some who have families, but to those who don't have families, have a girlfriend, have a wife, maybe the wife has a side job, has 2 jobs, I don't really think, that's going to really compensate for it. And then you have to think about the work schedule. You're going to work a lot more on the main roster than you work here on NXT. So is the money really, really worth it? In my opinion, it's not. I don't really think that's a good argument. You'll make more money, but you'll be sacrificing pretty much everything else about your aspect of your career. I don't think it's a good idea at all. And also think about it this way. We talk about talent that move up from NXT to the main roster. Let's name all of them. All of them right now, starting from NXT's resurgence. Not the 2010 NXT, but when NXT became good. When it became the true developmental brand under Triple H. Since that time, we've had people like Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, The Shield, Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, I can speak English, Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, Xavier Woods, Big E, Kevin Owens, Rusev, Bo Dallas, Neville Page, Emma, who returned to NXT, but she went to the main roster. The Ascension, who I think also returned to NXT. They've been on NXT a lot more often as of lately, which is great. They sucked on the main roster. Adam Rose, a.k.a. Leah Kruger, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Tyler Breeze. I think that covers everybody. I think I got everybody pretty much. If I missed someone, let me know. So those are all the guys that went from NXT to WWE. Now let's look at their success. So far, the most successful guy that comes out of NXT was Roman Reigns. That is Seth Rollins too. Let me be fair. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. But the most successful, the one that WWE is putting all their eggs in the basket with, is Roman Reigns. He's the one that's getting the main events. He's the one that's fighting Brock Lesnar. He's the one that's looking really, really strong. Seth Rollins, he got a championship run, but people are calling him one of the worst world champions to ever hold that belt because he lost a lot with that belt. Dean Ambrose, he was great when he left when he was with the Shield, but when he left the Shield, he had a good run for a little bit, and then he became irrelevant. He's the IC champion, and people don't care about him all that much. Bray Wyatt, oh my God, the Wyatt family had so much promise when they came to the main roster. That first year, they were white hot. Then they lost to John Cena. Well, Bray Wyatt lost to John Cena. Well, no, they all lost to John Cena. And then Chris Jericho beat him. And then eventually they conquered Chris Jericho, but he lost to Chris Jericho. And then they would lose to... Who did he fight after Chris Jericho? It was Chris Jericho. And then he would fight... Was it Dean Ambrose after that? And then he went to a feud with Dean Ambrose. I know that's for sure. And then lost to Taker and Kane. Lost to Roman Reigns. Bray Wyatt talks a big game. One of the greatest promos I've seen in this company in a long time. Can't back it up. Looks like a joke. And he came from NXT. Xavier Woods and Big E, when they first came up, they were nothing. They struggled for a long time before they finally found themselves with the New Day. Finally found themselves. And they're doing great right now. But after a while, I kind of feel like fans might get a little sick of them because I feel like now they're starting to get overexposed. And fans are starting to go, I don't think I like New Day as much. Kevin Owens was amazing, was a freaking boss on NXT. Dominant, destructive, not psychotic, but a sociopath. A sociopathic, cunning, calculating brute that I think can take on Brock Lesnar. He went from fight Owens fight to run Owens run. It doesn't make any sense. Bo Dallas is a joke. Neville can't win a freaking match, and he was the longest reigning NXT World Champion. Paige is another total diva when she was the anti-diva on NXT. Emma, when she went to the main roster, was a freaking joke with the dancing gimmick. They destroyed her. But now she's awesome as this sawn-off heel technical wrestler on NXT. The Ascension were freaking Legion of Doom knockoffs, the Road Warrior knockoffs on the main roster here on NXT. They're amazing. They're just dominant, awesome, almost in a sense, I don't want to say legends, but they're treated as veterans that put over their new talent. It's crazy. And then, of course, you got Charlotte Flair, who's doing pretty well right now. It was rough with that whole Divas Revolution crap, teaming with her, Paige, and Becky, and they had the same matches over and over and over again, and it didn't look good for them. But her and Becky Lynch are actually doing well right now. I hope it continues to go well. I hope it continues to go, as far as it can go. But Sasha Banks had the match of the year with Bayley last year. Match of the year. The best match in wrestling with Bayley. NXT Brooklyn. And these guys can't even use her right. She doesn't even get a lot of TV time. It makes no sense. The misuse of the NXT talent on the main roster is disgusting. Disgusting. And I already talked about Tyler Breeze. That alone pisses me off. I read reports that he has backstage heat because he has been asking to, leave tapings because they don't use him. If that's the case, I don't know if it's true, but if that's the case, I don't blame him. I was doing awesome on NXT, even though I wasn't winning world championships or anything like that. It didn't matter. I was a relevant character. I was having great matches. They trusted me to have a match with Jushin Thunder Liger. Now I can't even get on the main card. I'm on pre-show. He went from fighting Jushin Thunder Liger on NXT to fighting on the pre-show against R-Truth and some other guy in a random tag match. It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. They were used awesomely on NXT, got to the main roster, and they look like crap. They do. They really, really do. Let's talk about reasons why I believe NXT overall is a better brand. The number one reason is the show quality. The show quality is miles ahead of the main roster. And that's ridiculous. This is the development, easy for me to say, the development brand. Developmental. This is where the talent should be lesser than the guys in the main roster. When honestly, here's the main roster, and here's NXT. Talent are so much more easier to get invested in. They're a lot more fun to watch. The matches are a lot more enjoyable. Every week, every weekly show, the 1 hour NXT show is always better than the Raw shows. Maybe once in a while Raw will give us a really good show, and it will outdo NXT. But what is that? Out of 52 weeks a year, maybe even one? What, 1, 2? I'll be fair and say 2. Raw at times does have a really good show, but it's like twice a year. So what is that? 50 weeks out of a year, NXT is better than Raw. And don't get me started on the NXT specials. Every single NXT special. Now this I believe. Every single NXT special they produce has kicked every single WWE pay-per-view they've done since NXT has started doing these specials. It hasn't even been a competition. The NXT specials have outproduced, have entertained, have entertained the audience more, have outbooked, that's what I wanted to say, have outbooked the main roster. It's not even funny, the main events. Let's just compare right now. Finn Balor, Kevin Owens ladder match. Roman Reigns versus, well, who did he fight in the, was it Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose? Who did he fight in the main event? Oh, okay, Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. There you go. Roman Reigns versus Sheamus in a TLC match. Which match was better? Easy. You gotta think about that. Bayley, Sasha Banks, Iron Woman, Iron Man. I don't even remember half the main events. That's the problem. I don't even remember half the main events on the main roster to even make a freaking comparison. Shoot. Well, Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. No. Even that was one of the best main events this year, and NXT specials are killing even that. I can remember every single main event on the NXT specials. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Twice. You know? And then we got, like I said, Sasha Banks versus Bayley, Iron Woman. Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens. And then Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor. It's not even a competition, guys. You remember the NXT shows more than the actual main roster shows. Bayley and Eva Marie had a better main event. Eva freaking Marie. The total diva chick that everybody hates for good reason, but everybody hates, had an, I won't say awesome, but a really good main event with Bayley on NXT that outshined anything they did on Raw this year. Well, not this year, but last year in 2015. Jesus Christ. Male, female, every talent gets promo time, match time, storylines, feuds, legit characters that fit who they are. They get build up to their matches and great blow-offs. And some of the time, it's very basic stuff. It's nothing elaborate. It's nothing complicated. It's, hey, I don't like you for this reason. Let's fight. And that's all they need. You know, I would argue the women, because they close the shows multiple times on NXT specials, whatever. Well, let's just say NXT, period. I would think they're better at butts than the men on the main roster. And you know that's true. The women on NXT are booked better than the men on the main roster. And it feels natural every single time. Every time. I could buy Bayley and Sasha Banks main eventing every show they have. You know, I could have bought Charlotte fighting Sasha Banks in the main event. Guess what? They did fight each other in the main event of an NXT show. And even if their characters suck, because there are a couple of characters on NXT I'm just kind of like, you can do better with that. They're allowed a chance to make it work. You know, they give them time on the promos, they give them time with promos, they give them time in feuds and, you know, matches. Giving them opportunities to at least try to make it work. And then once they've exhausted all their options and they know it doesn't work, then they go, okay, let's change it up. With the main roster, if it didn't work the first time, done with you. I'm done with you. And that's not how it should work. That's not. You can make the argument that maybe NXT does better because they only have 1 hour each week. And then that's probably what it is. Raw has to do 3 hours. No. Raw, SmackDown. 5 hours. Raw, SmackDown pay-per-views. Sometimes 8 hours. 5 hours to 8 hours a week. That's hard. It's really hard to book shows like that. NXT just does 1 hour. Maybe that's an indication that they should stop doing 3 hours then. Because Raw was great with 2 hours. No one told him to go 3 hours. Who told him to go 3 hours? You make that decision, WWE. You know, so what if NXT does 1 hour a week? And so what if they only have 6 NXT specials? Because they had 6 in 2015. They might have 4, so 4, 5, 6. Fair enough. Okay, they have less. Less is more. I'll get into that argument when I talk about the business model of NXT and why it's better. And then we got, you know, better crowds. Talked about the crowds already. The fans on NXT, they love it so much. They feel like they're a part of the show. They feel like the people they support need their support and they benefit from their support. They feel like the heels are legit heels. They really hate the guys. And sometimes the people they boo are just natural, believable people. You know, they're not like villains. They're just people they want to see lose. You know, Neville versus Sami Zayn. Neville's not. Well, I don't think he was a heel. I wouldn't even say he was a heel when he fought Sami Zayn at our Evolution in 2014. He was just a dick. You know, I wouldn't say he was a heel because as soon as he lost the belt, he gave Sami respect. You know, it just was the story behind it. It was the way it was told. It was the storytelling of it all. You know, you don't have to be an Eva Marie to get the crowd to hate you. All you do is have to be a guy they just want to see lose. And that's what matters. In this business, you're either a person that people want to see win or someone they want to see lose. If you're neither one of those, we're in trouble. Okay? At least on NXT, you're one of the two. They either want to see you win or they want to see you lose. And that's great. That's really, really awesome. Best of all, getting into the superior business model. This is the best part. If I'm going to talk about the business-minded. Now I'm leaving the fandom side. Let's look at it from an objective, business-minded perspective. Again, we talk about the scheduling of these shows. You talk about, them going out and working. The workload is a lot less in the main roster. They tape their shows, I'm going to assume, once a month? They tape an entire month of NXT shows once a month. Once a month. Because they can, because their shows are only an hour. And that includes promos, that includes storylines, that includes feuds, interactions backstage and stuff, which I'm pretty sure they tape separately. I'm going to assume they tape that separately from the matches, which works. That works for NXT. But because they tape it once a month, guess what they do for the rest of that month? They work live events and they rest. They have time to relax. They don't work as much as the guys on the main rosters, the guys and girls on the main roster, who I think work every single day. The workload wears down their bodies. The workload stresses them out, makes them feel like, I don't want to do this. Burnout. It creates more opportunities for injuries, for burnout, and for overexposure. You don't get that on NXT. And another reason why you don't get that on NXT is because of the roster rotation. Every performer gets a chance to shine. Everybody gets a chance to shine. Because guess what? Not everybody's working every show. Different batches of people will work different shows. So you'll work this show, and then you won't be on the next week. And if you are on the next week, you're just having a promo. You're not wrestling. And then the week after that, it's a different batch. So it's like, I would dare say, 3 batches of wrestlers? Maybe even 4. But I'm going to assume 3. Like, one batch. And then they'll mix it up, get a new batch each week. This batch. So it's always different. The roster rotation concept works. Different people in different spots and different portions of the card. One week, the women main event the show. Next week, a tag team match main events the show. Next week, a championship match main events the show. Next week, we don't even main event the show with anything. It's a promo. They're always mixing it up because of the roster rotation. And guess what? We've seen great results from that. High sales for merchandise. Merchandise sales are amazing. They were amazing. Lucha Dragons were selling. Kevin Owens is selling. Finn Balor is killing it in merchandise sales. Bayley is killing it. Salt. Or Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Samoa Joe. All of them. They're killing it. I've seen people buy the Gable towels. Gable towels? Ready, Willing, and Gable. Chad Gable. Please tell me you know who that is. Some of you should. Because you're watching NXT, you know what the hell that is. But they buy the Gable towels. What the hell, man? It's just great stuff. Best of all, how do you know NXT is doing well? NXT sold out every single show, every single live event, up to NXT Dallas around WrestleMania. They've sold out every single freaking show up to NXT Dallas, which I think is in April. Is it April or at the end of March? Up to April. Sold out in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's just as good as business as Raw and SmackDown. It's just as good as Raw and SmackDown. I might even say better. I think it does better than SmackDown. But I'm going to just assume, because I don't have the numbers for Raw and SmackDown, so I'm not going to say that. That's jumping the gun. Again, being objective and fair. I don't know what the, selling rate for these shows are for Raw and SmackDown. So I'm going to assume that NXT, Raw, and SmackDown are on the same level. Regardless, that should tell you right there that they're doing just as good as business. So why not follow this business model? But ultimately, what matters is that the talents are happy, the crowds are happy, the fans are happy, the viewers are happy, and people who are running the business, who are making a lot of money off of this, they're happy. Everybody's happy. Everybody is happy with NXT, except for people who don't like it because they didn't create it. Look at the talent roster. Look at the talent roster on NXT. Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Baron Corbin, Blake and Murphy, Billie Kay, who's new, but she's pretty cool. Carmella, Dana Brooke, Dash and Dawson, your NXT champions. Enzo Amore and Big Cass, the most popular tag team in that company right now. Elias Sampson, well, next to the New Day. Let me just back off. The most popular NXT talent tag team they have right now. But Elias Sampson, the director. Emma, who's awesome right now on NXT. Eva Marie. Oh my God. Eva Marie is even competently good on NXT. Eva Marie, the same total diva bitch that people hated, who couldn't cut a promo, who couldn't wrestle on the main roster, has come down to NXT, and although she's still green, she looks great. She actually looks great. She looks like she belongs on NXT. It's awesome. Then you got the world champion Finn Balor, who is doing awesome. And when they bring in freaking Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, and AJ Styles from the Bullet Club, and they do that faction, you know goddamn well they're going to do the Bullet Club with Finn Balor. And if not two of those three, all of those three, all four of them might be in the Bullet Club. Are you kidding me? And yes, he might turn heel. Honestly, he should turn heel. Whether it's face or heel. Finn Balor is going to have so much fun on NXT going for the next few years. He shouldn't even think about moving up to the main roster right now. He's doing so awesome. He did an interview. Him and Bayley did an interview not too long ago where they actually talked about why they don't want to move to the main roster, because they feel like it's bad for their careers. It's taking 2 steps back because they know they won't be presented as strongly as they are here on NXT. And they're right. They're right. Finn Balor and Bayley, two people that I think if we're ever going to move up to the main roster and they would work, it's those two. But even they're saying no. I don't want to move up to the main roster because they know. No, flip it. I don't want to move down to the main roster because they know they will not get the respect. They will not get the same quality of matches. They won't get the same presentation that they have right now. Then you got people like Hideo Itami, who eventually will come back from injury. And look at the feuds he's going to have. He has that storyline about who put him out. Is it Samoa Joe? Is it Finn Balor? You don't know. Guarantee you he's going to get a world championship shot. He might be the guy to dethrone Finn Balor. You know? And then you got the Hype Bros. Zack Ryder and freaking Mojo Rawley. Fun tag team. Zack Ryder's career has been reinvigorated here on NXT. He was nobody on WWE. Here on NXT, he's just another part of the group. And he fits in so well. He's having so much fun again. Nia Jax. Samoan Heritage. Really cool. Peyton Royce. This chick that has a Poison Ivy gimmick. It's really freaking awesome. Rhino. I don't know if he's still wrestling for NXT. You know, maybe he's taking a break. But that's a veteran. Sami Zayn came back. Come on now. One of the best wrestlers in that promotion. Not just NXT, but WWE, period. Samoa Joe, same thing. Awesome. One of the best wrestlers in the world. Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger. Ty freaking Dillinger. So fucking awesome. The Ascension, American Alpha, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. Did I already say them? I have them twice on here. I apologize. Maybe. And Vaudevillains. Aiden English and Simon Gotch. Compare this roster to the main roster. It's no comparison. Even with the guys that came up from NXT and joined the main roster, it's still no comparison, guys. NXT has the better roster. It has the better show. For anyone to tell me that this show is inferior to the main roster, you're crazy. You're crazy. You are out of your mind. Okay? I really do believe that it's best for all these guys to stay down in NXT. Because NXT is changing the freaking game for WWE. I'll end it like this. For a guy that's been watching WWE since 1998, that's going on almost 18 years now. Almost 20 years. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. But for almost 2 decades now, I've been watching WWE, WWF. I can wholeheartedly tell you, the main roster is not WWF. That's not the WWF that I grew up and loved. That's a former show of itself. The true WWE, the true WWF is NXT. This is the real WWE. This is the promotion that I loved for 18 years. This is what WWE should be. This is the business model that it should follow. This is the show quality that it should aim to be every single week. Is NXT putting on groundbreaking shows? No, not every week. It's just good. It's good. Just good shows with good matches, good storylines, good feuds, consistent, that lead to something, that have big blowoffs, that have big blowoffs, that always keep you wanting more. That is what WWE should aim to be. And that is why I believe NXT is the best show. And I would think anybody that wants to move down from that is crazy. You should be fighting. You should be fighting to stay on NXT as long as possible until the WWE gets their shit together and really changes the main roster. And you know what? That might happen one day. It ain't happening anytime soon. Not right now when Vince McMahon's in charge. That's not going to happen until Triple H takes over. I know for sure when Triple H gets full reign over the company, he will make the main roster feel exactly like NXT. I think that's going to be a great time to watch wrestling. I think that's going to be awesome. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen at WrestleMania 32. It's not going to happen anytime soon. It ain't going to happen. So until it happens, stay down on NXT and enjoy yourself. Have fun. You know, enjoy your craft. Don't sacrifice it for the money, because it's not worth it. It really isn't. Yeah, you're feeding your family, but are you happy? Why not feed your family and be happy? Seriously. You know, that ties into WrestleMania, sure. The idea of fighting at WrestleMania is a lot more important than actually fighting at WrestleMania nowadays. Let's be real. WrestleMania usually feels like one big infomercial than an actual wrestling event. And that's fine, because WrestleMania has become a different monster on its own. And that's what it is. But you have to also think about your career. You also have to think about what's best for you. I think it's safe to say right now, being on NXT is a lot better than getting a pre-show match at WrestleMania. You're not going to get the main event. Not right now. I think it's best to just wait. Wait your time on NXT. Wait till things start changing. Wait until WWE is forced to change their business model, change their show qualities to meet NXT. Because that's what's happening. NXT is completely changing how people view WWE. It's making what we've been saying for years about WWE. It's making all those flaws, the 3-hour shows, the bad booking, all that just comes to the front even more because the development brand is outdoing them. NXT says, I just whipped your ass, WWE. So, okay, I'm just rambling at this point, guys. Give me your thoughts about NXT. Give me your thoughts about why you believe or don't believe NXT is the superior brand. I did my best to, really turn over every rock. So hopefully you guys can, I want some video responses. I'm pretty sure I won't get a lot. I would like people to make 2-hour videos. That'd be nice. If you can make a 2-hour video about Daniel Bryan, you can make one about NXT. But we'll see what happens, guys. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This is your boy, Deluxe Man, signing off. Let's just hope we get a better future for WWE, because that's ultimately what I want. But it won't happen until they admit to themselves that NXT is the superior brand. And that's going to be tough for Vince McMahon's ego. But we'll see what happens, guys. See you later.